All right, so today we are diving deep on Charleston White.
Oh, yeah, he is a fascinating guy.
Really is. We are breaking down this recent interview with him, and
I caught that one.
oh yeah,
Yeah, it was wild.
it is pure.
Shit, I don't think he gangster no more. I don't think he got it in him no more.
Woody don't crash out, man.
Woody crash out. F your retarded baby with the wooden leg with the kickstand on it. While you buying 2 AP watches, get that little girl some braces. Forrest Gump mama get him into school, remember? We all seen Forrest Gump mama before he got them braces put on his leg. Do something for that little girl leg so she ain't got to get picked on in middle school.
But
Cause they go pick on her with that unstraight leg.
But let me so let's get this straight. But you're disabled too, right?
Yeah, but I was born with 2 good eyes. His baby wasn't born with 2 good legs. God didn't curse me, nigga. That baby wasn't. I was born with all my limbs and fissures. I had everything at birth. That nigga baby ain't got.
Oh, man.
You got to hear this.
That's a whole other rabbit hole.
Oh, absolutely. But that's what we're here for, right? To dive into these rabbit holes?
Exactly, because on the surface,
Yeah.
he can seem like he's all over the place.
Right.
But when you actually listen, there's a method to the madness.
I think so.
There's this weird consistency. Like, he'll be breaking down some complex societal issue,
Right.
and he'll have like this really insightful, almost scholarly take on it.
Okay.
And then the next minute he's like,
Completely off the rails.
yeah. But it's never just for shock value.
No.
There's always a reason he's saying what he's saying.
It's thought-provoking for sure.
It is.
Even when it's outrageous, you're like, wait a minute.
You're forced to think about it.
Let me think about that for a second. Yeah.
Exactly.
So like when he talks about his recent arrest
Okay.
for violating probation,
Right.
he's so candid about the whole experience.
He really is. It's refreshing, honestly.
It's like he's got nothing to hide.
He owns his past.
Yeah.
Even when it's uncomfortable.
Yeah. Which is rare.
It is, especially these days.
Like everyone's trying to present this perfect image.
Right. And he's just like, this is me, take it or leave it.
Yeah. Love that about him.
Yeah, it's authentic. And I think people respond to that.
They do. He even talks about like how the other inmates reacted when he got locked up.
Oh, yeah, that was funny.
They went a little crazy, right?
They lost it.
Like Charleston White is here.
They were starstruck.
In jail.
He said he felt like a celebrity inmate.
Oh, man.
Guards, nurses, everyone wanted to talk to
I
him.
bet.
Even a former Memphis basketball player tried to help with his bail.
Seriously.
Yeah, it's wild.
Jail, but with better room service.
Right.
I'm kidding, obviously.
But you gotta wonder what that does to someone's ego.
I know. It's like even in jail, his notoriety precedes him. That's got to mess with your head.
It makes you think about the nature of fame,
Yeah.
especially within the walls of a prison.
That's a whole other deep dive right
That's
there.
sure.
Fame in prison.
Maybe we'll save that one for another day.
Right. But, okay, so back to Charleston White and this idea of consequences.
Right.
He's in jail for violating probation.
Right.
But then he says this really interesting thing. He's like, this isn't karma. So I'm curious.
Yeah.
He doesn't disagree that there are consequences for his actions.
No.
Right.
He's very clear about that.
So what's his deal with this whole karma thing?
It seems like he rejects the traditional understanding of karma,
Okay.
which, if you look at Eastern religions like Buddhism and Hinduism,
Right.
it's all about cause and effect.
Right. Like what goes around comes around.
Exactly. It's this cosmic balancing of the scales.
Okay.
But Charleston White, he follows Christianity,
Right.
and it doesn't really emphasize karma in the same way.
Okay. So what's his take?
For him, it's more about immediate accountability.
So it's less about some cosmic force
Right.
and more about like,
You make a choice. You face the
Yeah.
consequence.
okay,
It's very practical.
no nonsense.
Exactly.
Interesting.
And, for someone who courts so much controversy,
Yeah, he does.
he seems to have a very clear sense of personal responsibility,
That's a good point.
which I think is kind of admirable.
It is, especially in a world where it's always someone else's fault.
Right.
Yeah.
He owns his mistakes.
And speaking of responsibility, did you know he was using his time in jail to brainstorm business ideas?
Oh, yeah. He's a hustler at heart.
The man does not stop.
He's always thinking about the next move.
Which is interesting because he goes into detail about the side hustles he started after living in California.
Oh, yeah. This is where it gets juicy.
Okay, I am ready.
So picture this.
Yeah, okay.
Charleston White, fresh out of
jail.
fresh out of a stint in California, let's say.
Okay, in California.
And he's got this entrepreneurial spirit.
Okay, I'm listening.
So he starts selling knockoff designer goods
All right.
and get this marijuana.
No way.
Oh, yeah. He had a whole system for shipping it back to Texas.
He is a logistical genius.
Right.
Okay? I have to admit, I did not see entrepreneur Charleston White coming.
Right.
Like, that's not the first thing that comes to mind.
It definitely challenges the stereotype of the ex-con, wouldn't you say?
100% you think of.
Yeah.
You know, certain things. And selling marijuana and designer knockoffs is not one of them.
It's like he's defying expectations left and right,
Right.
but it makes you wonder what drives a guy like that.
Yeah. What is the motivation?
Is it the money? Is it the thrill of the hustle?
Or is it something deeper?
Right.
Like he's trying to prove something to himself or to the world.
And it adds this fascinating layer to his current lifestyle
Okay.
because now he's very open about his financial success,
Oh, yeah, he's doing well.
which he clearly enjoys.
I mean, who wouldn't?
But it's a far cry from his earlier life.
That's for sure.
So it makes you think about the American dream.
Okay.
Is it attainable for everyone, or are there systemic barriers that make it more difficult for some?
Right, like he was able to pull himself up. Yeah.
But is that the reality for everyone?
Exactly.
That's a question I think a lot of people are wrestling with these days.
Especially with the wealth gap widening.
It's like he embodies both sides of that coin.
The struggle and the success.
Exactly. And he's not afraid to talk about either.
Which is refreshing.
It is. Okay, so are you ready for this?
Hit me with it.
Just when you think you've got Charleston White figured out,
Yeah.
he hits you with his, the streets are a myth theory.
Oh boy, what?
That's a bold claim.
It is, right?
It is, and he links it directly to the internet.
Okay, how so?
He argues that in the digital age, information travels so fast that any true street activity would be too risky.
Because it would be all over social media.
Exactly. It's like he's saying real street life thrives on secrecy.
And the internet has shattered that.
Precisely.
So he's saying it's all for show now.
In a way, yes.
Interesting.
Which makes his criticism of certain rappers like Lil Yayo even more interesting.
What's his take on Lil Yayo?
It's like he's saying Lil Yayo is clinging to this outdated image.
Of street cred.
Yeah, exactly.
Instead of embracing his talent.
Right, because Charleston White even says Lil Yayo is incredibly talented musically.
Yeah, he does.
Like, he's got the skills,
he does.
but he's stuck in this, like...
This persona.
Yeah, this outdated persona.
That maybe was never even really.
Exactly. It's like this romanticized, almost mythical version of the streets.
That doesn't exist anymore.
Right, and that's what Charleston White's saying.
It's fascinating though, right?
It is.
Because it makes you think about...
It's real.
Yeah, like, has the internet blurred the lines between authenticity and performance?
100%.
Especially in hip-hop culture,
Oh, absolutely.
where it's always been about keeping it real.
Right, and now it's like, what even is real anymore
Yep.
when everyone's curating their image online?
So then he gets into this whole thing about race
Oh, boy.
and his place in the black community.
Which is always a powder keg.
It is, and he doesn't hold back at all.
No, he does not.
He basically says that black people are at the bottom.
Of the social hierarchy.
Yeah, which obviously is a very controversial statement.
To say the least.
People were outraged.
Understandably so.
Right.
It's a tough pill to swallow.
It makes you wonder, like...
Where is he coming from?
Yeah, like what's his damage,
We
right?
have to consider his background.
Didn't he grow up around mostly white people?
He did.
So is that why he thinks this way?
I mean, it's impossible to say for sure,
Right.
but it's definitely a factor.
You think his upbringing shaped his worldview?
I think it's a possibility
It's like he internalized some of these negative perceptions.
about his own community.
Yeah, which is sad.
It is, but it's also a reality for a lot of people.
That's
You
good.
can't ignore the impact of our environment.
Right, and he's a product of his environment just like everyone else.
Exactly. So when he says these things,
Mm.
it's not about condoning or condemning his views.
It's about trying to understand...
Oh, wait, where he's coming from.
Yeah, because his experience is valid,
It is.
even if his conclusions are flawed.
Right, and we have to acknowledge that.
We do. And we also have to acknowledge the very real backlash he's received
Oh, yeah.
for his comments, like that incident with the woman on Aiden Ross's stream.
Oh, man.
That was a whole thing.
That was a mess.
She was white, and she kept using a racial slur.
Right.
And Charleston White did not hold back.
No, he did not.
He went off on her.
Which, you know,
Not a good look.
not a good look for anyone involved.
No, it just escalated the situation.
It did, and it became this whole debate about free speech.
Because she has the right to say what she wants.
Right, even if it's offensive.
But he also has the right to respond.
Exactly.
So where do you draw the line?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is. It's like there's this constant tension
Between free expression,
and creating a space for respectful dialogue.
especially when it comes to sensitive topics like race.
It's tough
It is.
because you want to call out injustice, but you also don't want to just escalate the conflict.
Right.
You want to have a conversation.
A productive conversation.
Exactly.
And sometimes that's hard,
It is, especially online.
where everyone's just looking for a fight.
Right?
So yeah, that whole situation with Aiden Ross was a lot.
It was.
But it speaks to this larger issue.
Of how we talk about race.
Exactly.
And how we navigate these difficult conversations.
In a way that's both honest.
And respectful.
Yeah.
Which is not easy.
It's not, but it's necessary.
It is.
Okay. So speaking of complex situations.
Oh, boy.
Charleston White's recent interview with Orlando Brown.
That was another one for the books?
That was wild.
It was.
Orlando Brown has definitely had his share of struggles publicly,
He has.
especially when it comes to mental health.
Which is something we need to talk about more.
We do.
Especially in the entertainment industry.
Where there's so much pressure.
To be perfect.
And to maintain this image.
And to perform.
Yeah.
Even when the cameras are off.
It's got to take a toll. It does. And not everyone has the support system they need.
That's true.
So when I saw that interview with Orlando Brown, I was like, okay, we need to talk about this.
What stood out to you the most?
Charleston White said something really interesting.
What that?
He said that Orlando Brown seemed almost stuck in character.
Like he couldn't separate himself from the roles he's played.
Exactly. Like there was this blurring between his public persona and his true self.
And you think that's common?
I think it's more common than we realize.
Especially in the age of social media.
Oh, absolutely.
Where everyone's curating their image.
And projecting this persona online.
It's like we're all living in this strange hall of mirrors.
Trying to figure out what's real.
And what's just a reflection.
Yeah.
So getting back to Charleston White.
Yeah.
What stood out to you the most from this interview?
You know, for me, it was this phrase he kept repeating.
Oh, yeah?
He kept saying he'd rather be effective than positive.
Interesting choice of words.
Right.
What do you think he meant by that?
I think he's saying he's not afraid to make people uncomfortable.
To get his point across.
Exactly.
He'd rather ruffle feathers.
Than just tell people what they want to hear.
Right. It's like he's not interested in being liked.
He wants to be heard.
Which some might argue is a form of manipulation.
It's a good point.
Like, is he just trying to provoke people?
To get attention.
Yeah, or is he really trying to make a difference?
It's tough to say.
Because on the one hand, he's saying these really thought-provoking things.
Right.
But on the other hand, he's doing it in a way that's...
inflammatory.
Exactly.
But maybe that's what it takes.
Well, you...
Maybe we need these provocateurs, these disruptors.
To shake things up.
Exactly, because if everyone's just being polite and agreeable...
Nothing changes.
Right.
So maybe Charleston White is onto something.
Maybe he is.
He's definitely a fascinating guy.
There's no denying that.
Like you said, love him or hate him.
He makes you think.
He does. And he's not afraid to challenge the status quo.
Which is something we need more of. Even if it's uncomfortable sometimes.
Absolutely. So Charleston White, everyone.
Man of contradictions.
That's for sure. But one thing's for certain.
What's that?
He's not going away anytime soon.
No, he is not.
And this interview...
just the tip of the iceberg.
Exactly. We could dive deep on this guy for hours.
Oh, yeah. There's so much more to unpack.
But we're going to leave it there for today.
All right.
But the conversation doesn't have to end here.
No, it doesn't.
What did you think of Charleston White's take on?
All the things.
All the things.
His arrest, his businesses, his views on race.
Orma.
The streets.
Lil Yayo.
Let us know.
Hit us up on social media.
We want to hear your thoughts.
Because this is a conversation that needs to be had.
It does, and we're all in this together.
That's right. So until next time, keep asking questions.
And stay curious.
We'll see you on the next Deep Dive.